There is a scene early on in the 1982 Samuel Fuller film White Dog where a killer, racist dog leaps into a street cleaning truck, mauls the driver to death, and then hops out before the truck crashes through the front of a department store. There is a scene where a character who I would best describe as John Hammond, if he never got rich, goes on a rant about his hatred of R2-D2 because he is worried robots will replace animals in movies. There is a scene where, as a dog performs a daring prison escape, he leaps over an electric fence which spontaneously combusts beneath him. There is also a scene where a young actress speaks to a friendly old man and his granddaughters who are fans of her work and want autographs. This scene is so tense that it made me want to throw up. There is a scene where a dog trainer and her owner put their work to the test that is so profoundly tragic, I wanted to cry. I have never seen a movie like White Dog, and you haven't either. This is a truly unique thriller, if you could call it that. Genre-wise, it sort of swings like a weighty pendulum between violent horror and kind of zany but also tense drama. It is a film that features a stacked cast and crew composed of not just Oscar-winning talents, but legendary era-defining artists. Yet, in the United States, this movie did not see the light of day until 2008. White Dog is both an effective allegory for racism and a touching story of a woman who deeply loves her dog. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, this film is based on a true story, although that's only partly accurate. The movie is actually adapted from a fictional novel translated from French, which was based on a non-fictional Life article, both written by the same author, by the way. There is so much to talk about with White Dog, which is why I removed it from its planned slot in my last video to here. It deserved its own video. In fact, it deserves so much more than I could ever hope to possibly give it. White Dog opens on a young actress named Julie who accidentally hits the titular canine with her car, and the dog looks just so dead here. Its tongue is sticking out like a cartoon. I'm surprised its eyes didn't just like turn into X's, but she takes it to the vet, and the vet is like, yeah, he's gonna be completely fine. Not a scratch on this dog. Also, that'll be $250. And there's this kind of weird like Pretty Woman type moment where they don't think she can afford it or will pay it, but she does, and she takes the dog home. Later, her and her big-time wet blanket of a boyfriend put up found dog flyers, and by the way, the boyfriend is played by Jameson Parker, who in 1992 was shot twice in an altercation with a crazed neighbor, and he got out of the hospital the next day, which is it's pretty hard, man. That's pretty tough. But his character in this, not so much. He's pretty insufferable. Julie goes home and is very suddenly attacked by a home invader. And I say very suddenly, this is so funny because in the previous scene, her boyfriend said something along the lines of, it's dangerous for you to be living alone. And even though that prophecy comes to fruition in the literal very next scene, it still felt very out of nowhere to me somehow. But the White Dog saves her, and then there is this hilarious little ADR line when the cops show up. One of them is like, ugh, it's the same guy from last year, or something along those lines. And there's actually a lot of pretty rough ADR in this. But anyways, later White Dog kills a black guy driving a city cleaning or sweeping vehicle, whatever those are called, before it also plows through the front of a department store in a very dramatic scene, largely in part due to the legendary Ennio Morricone's soundtrack. The GOAT brought his A game to this one. His score is very eerie, but then explodes into these crescendos of violins that cascade down upon you like a tidal wave. It's awesome. The music in this is excellent. Writer-director Samuel Fuller's wife actually recommended that he hire Morricone for this movie, Great call. Also, fun fact, actually not so fun fact, was this movie was originally supposed to be directed by Roman Polanski, but he had to drop out when he had to also drop out of the country. Julie goes to the pound looking for White Dog, which is actually kind of a harrowing little journey. This place sort of reminds me of where we got Pancake from, but later White Dog does come home covered in blood, which Julie pretty much completely ignores. The dog was played by 5 different dog actors named Duke Hahn's son Buster and my personal favorite, Folsom. White Dog attacks her friend and puts her in the hospital, where she's actually pretty cool about it. And for some reason, the police or animal control don't intervene at all. And Julie decides she needs to take White Dog to a dog trainer. Her boyfriend goes on this crazy rant about how the dog needs to be put down. He turns borderline psychotic about killing this dog. And after this, we never see him again, by the way, so good on Julie for shedding that dead weight. She takes White Dog to this exotic animal training place where there are just loose lions everywhere, and she meets the owner, an older man named Carruthers, who is a gloriously over-the-top character. He goes on this long, unwanted tirade about how much he hates R2-D2, and he is also, by the way, played by the late, great Burl Ives, who I ignorantly, feel free to make fun of me for this if you already knew this, I had no idea he was an actor, which is funny because he has literally won an Oscar, but I was only familiar with his folk albums, which I listened to on repeat for a full year when I was in college for some reason, but he is very, very fun in this. I really like his performance. He breathes a lot of life into this character. White Dog, who isn't ever actually given a name, by the way, but White Dog attacks some poor dude working there before Carruthers pulls him off and tells Julie that White Dog is a white dog, an animal that has been trained to attack black people, and that the dog needs to be put down. But then an animal trainer named Keys intervenes, determined to rehabilitate the dog. Look, I'm no Caesar Milan, which unfortunately is my only reference point to the world of dog training aside from the 3 tricks that I've taught Pancake.
You sit down. Sit down. Good job. Very good. Very good. Put it there. Give me a shake. Yeah, very polite. Good job. Very good. Can you lay down? Lay down. Wow, first try. That's usually our worst one. Good job, Pancake. Very good.
But again, I'm no expert, but I don't think putting on a fencing outfit and just letting the dog wear itself out trying to kill you is the best way to stamp out its aggression. Dog training has probably come a long way in the last 40 years, but still, I'm not sure that this was the best way to go about it. So one night, oh wait, I forgot to mention this, rewind. Dick Miller is in this movie. He's in one scene, very randomly, got a couple of lines. I just thought that was funny, but if you don't know, he was a great horror actor. He was really good in A Bucket of Blood, but White Dog makes a very dramatic escape from the facility, gets very nerve-wrackingly close to a kid before he chases some poor guy into a church and kills him. Keys arrives on the scene and catches the dog, and then he and Julie have a big fight about what to do next, while Carruthers awkwardly stands in the background the whole time. Keys gives a big speech about not giving up on fighting prejudice and not passing the buck. He says if they kill the dog, he'll just get another and another, and he kind of starts to go a little insane here, but they decide to continue the dog's rehabilitation, which largely consists of Keys flashing his bare belly at the dog and feeding it hamburgers, which actually works. White Dog warms up to Keys and then manages to not kill this other guy, so Carruthers is ready to declare the experiment a success, but Keys is worried that he has scrambled the dog's brain, so the final test will be to get Julie to come back because apparently he might actually attack her for some reason. So she tries to leave to go there, but is stopped by this old man and his granddaughters. And the second he appeared, I knew exactly who he was and what was happening, but it didn't matter. It still made my heart drop. He, of course, tells Julie that he is there for the dog, that he trained himself. White Dog's backstory here is a little different from the real-life story behind the film. While living in LA, a French novelist named Romain Gary and his wife took in a friendly white dog that they found on the street who, after attacking 3 different black people, they realized must have been trained to do so. What happened next is unfortunately a mystery to me. I could only find the first half of the original Life article about this event, so White Dog's fate, at least to me, remains a mystery. In Gary's book, which is a heavily fictionalized and satirical version of the original events, they discover that White Dog was an Alabama police dog, and after they take him to a trainer, he is retrained to attack only white people, which is kind of hilarious and also like, what? I couldn't find a digital version of the book, and my local library doesn't have it, and all the copies being sold online are like $70. So I don't know exactly how this all plays out or what exactly the tone struck was, but Samuel Fuller probably wisely completely changed the ending of the book for the film. So Julie yells and, dunks on the old man for a while before leaving to go see White Dog, who acts like he's gonna attack Keys, but then he doesn't. And then he acts like he's gonna attack Julie, but then he doesn't. But then he does attack Carruthers, forcing Keys to put him down, which is where the film ends. White Dog is one of those movies where there's something kind of out of pocket happening just about every minute, and it is so off the wall that you can't help but just laugh at a lot of it. It is a very entertaining film. It's got big time B-movie energy, and it is probably so wacky due to how troubled its production was. There were way too many cooks in the kitchen on this one, people who definitely shouldn't have had a seat at the table too. I mean, one of the executives at Paramount who produced this film said he wanted the movie to be Jaws with pause, and the studio also wanted to either downplay or remove the racial element from the story, which is kind of baffling because that's like the main thing, which is something Samuel Fuller really understood and refused to remove from the film. The NAACP and other civil rights groups made a lot of noise during the film's production and were worried that the movie's release would cause real-world racially motivated violence. The controversy that grew around this film caused it to never really be given a chance. It received an extremely limited release and was essentially shelved for 25 years until it was released on DVD by Criterion. Paramount even denied at one point that it existed at all, which is upsetting and a shame. The film really did resonate with me. The emotional core of this movie, the relationship between Julie and White Dog, is very well fleshed out. Powerful, and it totally works, which really sells the tragedy of the film's ending. White Dog's demise, despite the fact that he's a killer and is definitely not invited to the picnic, is still really profoundly sad. The film's central allegory and message about racism and hate is a little bit more nuanced than the typical just racism is bad message. This is a movie about how hatred isn't just learned, but is taught. And once that happens, it is impossible to unteach, at least according to the film. I do think that this would be a great candidate for a remake. Personally, my pitch would be to swap out the character of Keys with a skinhead, considering leaving the Brotherhood and his life is saved by a white dog, and then it would be him trying to retrain the dog, and the dog's rehabilitation would mirror his own and raise the question, what can people really change and to what extent? That's my elevator pitch. I actually had too much time on my hands the other day and adapted that idea into a one-act play, which we're on a big tangent here, but that was the first thing I've written fully in years. And the goal of this channel has always been and will continue to be to improve my mental health, and I think writing that was a good sign. I had a lot of fun doing it too. And again, I think someone should consider remaking this film. It deserves it. It deserves a lot more than it got, and it is well worth checking out. It is a movie, and feel very free to cringe at what I'm about to say, but it is a movie that's got that dog in it.